Hi guys.
All right, so basically, just to get the obligatory question out of the way, in your own words, what is Resolution about?
Justin, hit it.
All right. It is about a young man who imprisons his estranged junkie best friend in a cabin in the woods and forces him through a week of sobriety. Now, the events of that week are manipulated by this dark mystery that is the mystery of the movie, so I don't want to give it away. In the most general sense, it is proudly a horror film, but it does have a very prominent character drama and a lot of kind of dry, understated, dark humor. And I think that those are the things that have made people go, "Oh my God, I don't know how to classify this." But yeah,
That's what's fun.
Chris, it's Michael. Can I come up? Your best friend.
Sorry, man.
You can fix it.
Oh, God, there's no... Do you remember? I don't think I could fix that. Well, all right. Really? You're leaving? Fuck you, Mike! Are you fucking kidding me?
All I'm asking is that you get clean for 1 week.
A lot of people have said that it is kind of a genre-defying movie or genre-breaking or bending. Did you go into it with that notion, trying to make something that was different like that, or does that just kind of come naturally whenever you make a film?
this is actually extremely important.
Yeah.
No, we never ever discussed genre once, and so it is actually kind of a strange thing when you do get interview questions sent to you, and it's like, what made you mix horror with drama and comedy? And it's like, you don't want to write something condescending, but you're like, we didn't.
Yeah. I mean, we did. We weren't just like, so there's this horror thing and this comedy thing, and we're gonna mash them. It was more just like, hey, let's do this movie, and that's it. And that's kind of how we do everything. It's just like almost everything we make can be classified as something sort of genre-y. We'll make anything, but like probably some sort of sci-fi or action or exciting component to it, something. But we're never gonna make something that we don't also want to smile at. Like levity is super important. So it's just like, well, I guess just by our nature, those things combine. But that's not to sound like I just graduated Juilliard, but that's real life. You know what I mean? You laugh in the face of danger anyways, so yeah.
And a big thing in the case of Resolution was that it's like we wanted to make an actually scary movie. Not a movie where there's, like, jump scares just aren't scary to us. We really respect well done makeup effects. And they're extremely hard to do, and it takes an artist and a really skilled, talented person to do it. But just making a movie that has some makeup effects every 10 minutes isn't really that scary.
Mm-hmm.
We want to make something that was actually frightening. And to make something actually frightening, you make characters that you care about. And those characters that you care about say funny stuff sometimes. They have heartbreaking moments. And that's where the tone of the movie came from and where the comments come from with mixing genres.
This is a dark moment, but it does get better. This is the worst of it, okay?
Obviously, Resolution has a very different take on what Cabin in the Woods means. What inspired you guys to write the story?
We had Aaron and myself have been working together for a long time, and we had recently done a low-budget beer commercial with Peter and Vinnie where their chemistry was really good. So we just wanted to all make a movie together with the amount of money in my checking account, and we had a weird cabin available to us. So the script was written for that structure to a certain extent, and it is fun to take that. Like, that is a great American tradition, like the Cabin in the Woods horror film, right? It's like you got obviously Evil Dead, you've got Cabin Fever, and you've got a lot of them that are just really bad straight to DVD.
And now we've got Cabin in the Woods.
And Cabin in the Woods,
which is awesome.
Genius.
Yeah.
But I'd say that it is fun to take that, and I think, for one thing, our cabin looks wildly different than any cabin in the history of Cabin in the Woods movies, and it was fun to take that great American tradition and flip it upside down a little bit.
One thing I just kind of an interesting aside is I remember maybe like 4 years ago, kind of roughly when I got out here. There's a producer that's actually a brilliant producer that I work with, who'd actually just read something written by Roger Corman, and he said like the easiest way to make a movie that makes money on the indie scene is to put nine kids in a cabin and chop them up, And so it was, I mean, of course that didn't like resonate with me personally, but it's just like, well, yeah, there is like a tradition. And so what we did is instead we made the weirdest cabin, didn't put a bunch of kids in it, and didn't trap them up, but it's got the framework there to then kind of play off of.
Do you think someone's leaving these stories for us to find?
Now, without giving too much away, I'll say that there are a lot of red herrings in the film. When they kind of take advantage of some viewers' pre-existing notions about horror movies, I think. Did you watch any particular horror movies to gather ideas for those red herrings, or did you just kind of draw on your own knowledge of these films that use them? Does that make sense?
Yeah, well,
It's kind of a different question.
yeah, it's weird. I think it just there's a more general thing here of what Aaron and I do, and we kind of have an unspoken rule that if something is too familiar, we don't do it. And sometimes we end up doing the opposite. And sometimes in doing the opposite, you made a reference without intentionally doing it.
Right, because we're pretty well versed, kind of, so we know like what the tropes and cliches and the stuff that keeps popping up over and over are. And it is always fun to play off of that, but just only if you just touch it so lightly, only just to throw it away like a red herring, that's the most fun part of it is to set the audience up for something that they expect and then just go the other direction. In a way, you can end up getting predictable like that, like in the same way that like M. Night Shyamalan is like, well, where's the twist, But for resolution, I think it's just I personally think we handle it with such a light touch that it never feels like homage. It just feels like a lot of fun and kind of an interesting misleading.
Yeah, and there's things that like, for example, if a character in the movie's aware of, like, there's like the Scream thing where it's like all the characters in Scream know everything about slasher movies, and they're like, oh, okay, the Virgin's gonna show her boobs now or whatever, and this is gonna happen, and they may reference that. That's like now the bad way of doing things. If you did that, it would not be a very good piece of dialogue. It would not be. But
yeah, it's 15 years old.
Yeah,
right? Longer. I don't know.
In Resolution, there's a point where Chris says,
Maybe you have split personalities and you're leaving each other gifts and shit.
oh, well, that's an indie thriller trope. It's never ever quite been referenced within a movie before. It wasn't intentionally meta, but it was like you put yourself in that situation and you're like, well, I've seen Session 9, I've seen American Psycho. So you can
or any of them. I mean, there's Fight Club.
Fight Club.
Any of them,
Yeah. I love that line too, because it really is, you're watching, and if I'm sure some people were watching the film and at that point in the movie were thinking that might be where it's going, and then went, oh shit.
Right.
That was great.
And that's exactly why we throw it away, because I guess that has to do with trust in the filmmakers, because how bad of a filmmaker would you have to be to then actually be that after saying that line? So I guess you have to trust us a little bit. It's just like, man, they suck. They just revealed the ending.
There's this DVD extra we made that like it's like
it's
the most horrible alternate ending you've ever seen. And it's like 6 months later in a song.
Oh, to clarify, we shot this like 4 months ago, like way after the film was.
And it's like it starts with like 6 months later, and it's like it's Chris and Michael sitting at a table having tea together, reflecting on like, thank God they made it through that, and then like it like wraps up everything that's set up in the movie like perfectly, and then it goes to like Michael waking up. And it was all the dream.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like the worst thing you've ever seen in your
taking
whole
all
life.
those setups that we did and just paying them off completely in the worst way you can hope. So yeah,
it's like a machine gun of a payoff.
I'm trying to tell you, man, someone's fucking following us.
The chemistry between Vinnie Curran and Peter Solella is great, obviously. Does that just come naturally for them? Are they just good friends in real life, or did that kind of develop over the rehearsal period?
Oh, that's actually interesting. Yeah. Yes, it comes naturally to them. They do have this like antagonistic brotherly love kind of thing, like old friends. When we started the movie, they'd worked together separately before, and then together on that beer commercial. Separately on a commercial that he did with where they were on opposite sides of a phone call, so they never actually met, and then together on screen in a beer commercial, and then that was when it's just like, oh, this works, And then, but they weren't like real life, like big time friends until, you know, all the way through Resolution, and then even up through the film festival circuit and stuff like that. Now they kind of have this very interesting, like, I don't even know what to call it, you know, but what you see on screen.
I mean, they didn't start dating until about a month ago.
Yeah. Well, they weren't Facebook official. I mean, I think they were ready to go like 4 months ago.
All right, so in another month or so, you're gonna find out that he's actually chained him up in a cabin. Or life is gonna imitate art, probably.
No joke. What if Pete's wife got pregnant? Pete's wife got pregnant. Like, what was it? Right before or right after? Did he leave his pregnant wife to go shoot Resolution? I can't remember. Or was it right after?
It was like right after.
Right after. Okay, never mind then. Either way.
All right, yeah. Vinny starts with the drugs. You better stop that right away.
Yeah.
All right. So,
then it's like the ultimate meta movie. We're just like, we didn't use that promo.
All right. So obviously the film comes out this month on video on demand and select theaters. But you've been doing the festival circuit for a couple of months. Do you find that audiences are generally getting the movie the first time, or does it take some explaining?
It seems like it varies like country to country. It never takes explaining because we don't do it. You know, we say like, please watch it again and here's a couple hints. That's pretty much it. Because nobody likes to hear that just told to them, and then they're like, oh, and then they walk away and get some drinks. You know. But I would say more, like 80%, 90% seem to get it the first time through, even in foreign countries, you know. And then other ones, they're always like super intrigued to watch it again after we give hints, and they're kind of like, oh. And then sometimes we just say like, well, they're like, I didn't quite get it. And then we're like, well, explain, what did you understand out of it? And then they explain it perfectly. Oh. We're like, well, you got it. You know?
What would convince you that I'm not crazy?
And in addition to directing, you guys played multiple roles on this film as far as editing, visual effects, cinematography. Do you think that you'll continue to do that, or as you get more money, hopefully on your films, you'll hire other people?
That's a really interesting question.
It's going to be the type of thing where, like, slowly over time, we'll stop wearing so many hats. But, like, on the next movie, it's not like there's going to be, like, some massive leap in budget to where we could actually... Right. For one thing, also, too, it's like, in the case of, like, just use one example, editing. Well, Aaron and I are, I mean, like, we bury our editing credits because we don't want to ask people other ask us to do it, because it's not, like, the most enjoyable thing in the world. Right. But at the same time, like, frankly, we're both really good editors. And it's better just for us to do it in that case than to, like, send it through someone else. Right. Like, someone who just focuses on editing, I'm sure those people are for sure out there, they're better than us. But for now, it's like between the two of us, it's just much faster and cheaper for us just to hit it.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing we'll probably keep doing forever, we like doing all of it. It's kind of nice, and it makes us marketable too. You know, it makes attractive as a co-directing team. It's not like, oh, we have to, you know, pay them for one job, pay two people for one job. You know, it's not like that. It's more like, you know, he produces and writes. You know, I'll do the cinematography and directing. We both edit, do the visual effects and coloring. You know. That kind of stuff, just being able to do that gets a movie made faster and cheaper, and we enjoy it well enough. You know, I mean, yeah, I'll probably always be the DP, and he'll probably always be the writer. Would you agree with that? Probably, you know. But yeah, that's mostly yeah.
There's an interesting
producer, I guess.
Yeah. There's an interesting creative process thing too, where it's like neither Aaron nor myself have any ambition of being professional sound designers or sound mixers. Yeah. But when we're putting together our cuts between the two of us and we are doing our own sound design, there's a creative process there that, like, by searching for the sound and playing with it, sticking it in the sequence, you know, later our genius sound designer re-recording mixer will come in and make it really badass. But in the meantime, we're really honing in on something. Like, there is a creative process there and do it yourself that you don't have if you're just always allocating everything. Mm-hmm. But again, over time, as budgets get bigger, we'll be, you know, not wearing quite so many hats.
Also, we found our movies start making sense as it gets more sound designed. Make more sense as it gets more sound designed. Like, meaning like we use every single aspect of filmmaking, sound, picture, editing, script, all of it to make the cohesive thing, not just what's said on, you know, in the script. So, or on the page, you know. So so that's also, you know, one of the major, since that's such a creative process, that's something we like to kind of have a little bit of a handle over. But again, though, as he says, like, eventually we'll find, or we'll just find a way to hand off, you know.
It's like a little story.
Now, when I saw it in the theater here, I think a guy said that it reminded him of the Blair Witch Project. I didn't understand that at all. But have you guys heard any baffling comparisons to either films or filmmakers that you did not expect?
We actually, the really cool thing is, like, there are some funny ones, but one of the coolest things is, like, how making this movie has made us so much more cultured. Like, we didn't know
about so many filmmakers that we apparently
we see our name grouped in, like, series of filmmakers now, where, like, we, like, immediately have to jump on Google.
Yeah. Who is that? You know, and then we're like, oh, how do we not know about Ben Wheatley? You know, stuff like that. You know,
he's like, you know, because he's God.
Yeah,
but like,
exactly. No. A lot of these people were just like, these guys are awesome. You know, but like one of the biggest ones I think would probably be David Lynch. We know who David Lynch is, but I personally hadn't seen any of his movies. I think you might have seen Blue Velvet or Blue Velvet.
Yeah,
not Valentine. Yeah, different movies. And you know, I mean, we never ever talk about David Lynch at all. I think we probably enjoy his movies quite a bit, but just still, I have yet to see a David Lynch movie. So, you know, that's kind of an interesting one where it's like, it's got this Lynch thing going on. I'm like, maybe so. You know, we've gotten some really baffling ones though. Blair Witch I kind of get, but probably just because of leaving stuff outside the tent. That's probably literally the comparison and the backwoodsness of it. You know.
The most flattering comparison we ever get is probably like Kill List. Kill List is a really flattering comparison.
That is, and it's really accurate too. It's just like it's not the same movie by any means, but it's still got something about it. You know.
Yeah, it's so good. We just watched it like a month ago.
That's a good
blown
one.
away by it.
Yeah, that's a really good one.
Yeah, it's really good.
It's interesting. I think Resolution has more in common probably with like The Exorcist than Blair Witch if you're going to go with like well-known horror films.
Yeah.
I think like idea-wise and kind of like a strange tone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think the guy kind of named the only one he knew. But like, when I saw it, I thought of Session 9, but not because of the ending. I hadn't seen the ending yet, but just in terms of tone, that like slow building terror, the dread that builds up through something's wrong here.
And each one has a beginning, middle.
Can you say anything about your upcoming films? I know I heard you mention somewhere that you guys are doing a short, I think, that you're taking on the festival circuit, and then you got some features after that. Of course, what can you tell us about any of that?
The short was weird because we just got a really interesting opportunity through a company we can't say that much about yet. It's not a huge secret, but but everyone will know this spring when it launches. We just basically got a really nice little budget to go have full creative freedom and do what we do.
Yeah.
And we can knock it out before the end of the new year. We prepped it from like, where were we? We were prepping it from Estonia.
Estonia and Copenhagen and Spain. That's what we were traveling for 25 days around there. And we were prepping from afar, and like the production office is just like, hey, what you guys need? And we're just like, you know.
We like picked the location from. I think we were on a bus heading from.
We were
New York. We were on a bus.
Yeah, we were on a bus.
Like, so we were out promoting Resolution like around the world and like prepping this thing, and then we got back to Los Angeles and we went straight into a production office with a team in place, an amazing team of people.
How cool is that? That was like
so
the greatest. And they were like professional, like amazing. Some of the best people we've ever worked with. You know, that was a rare opportunity.
Yeah,
that was awesome.
And we got to shoot a short that fans of Resolution and genre film in general are really gonna dig.
Cool.
Yeah,
and that'll launch in the spring, and then we have 3 feature film scripts that we're doing business on. One of them is more the spearhead, and we can say whatever you want about them.
Why don't I just give like the 2-line synopsis of each? Just they're interesting, right? I mean, that's probably pretty fun.
First, we have Spring, which is about a young man who flees the U.S. in an emotional and legal tailspin for Italy, where he sparks up a romance with a girl on what is now the Amalfi Coast, but for financial reasons it may switch to a slightly different seaside Italian town. But the audience is privy to things about this girl that indicate there is something very, very wrong with her. For a while, we think maybe she's a vampire. For a while, we think maybe she's a werewolf. For a while, we think she's some sort of Lovecraftian thing. And what she turns out to be in the third act, I don't want to give it away, because like Resolution, that's sort of the central mystery of the movie, but it also very much informs the third act, and it becomes this really interesting story of like these two people who you've seen this beautiful naturalistic romance play out between, if they're going to be able to make it work given what she is.
Okay.
And then we also have one called Strata, which is about a scientist, a soldier, and this weird drugged up gypsy who are smashed together and forced on this vague mission into rural Eastern Europe by a mining corporation. They're going to go survey some mining prospects, right? It sounds pretty innocuous. But while they're there, they get trapped in this abandoned, isolated, and sealed off 14th century castle. And then they realize they are not alone in there. They're actually in there with more or less an undiscovered, self-isolated society of people. And so, when they turn violent when one of them accidentally kills a diplomatic bridal offering, and so then it's up to these guys to try and find a way out of this and to navigate this weird little society they've built, and find a way out. But while also reconciling the fact that all three of these guys just absolutely fucking hate each other, So that one's kind of a fun little, and it's kind of in the same vein as Resolution, if you can imagine that same tone of weird things, but I guess you can also add in a little bit of an action component too.
Yeah.
And
they all have, all like Resolution, they're all just tonally similar in that they have a very prominent character drama and lots of dark humor and some high concept genre element that is entirely original and not just ripped off from something.
Awesome.
Well, the third is going to sound like it's from left field, but again, just think like Resolution. Is it's actually like a sci-fi revenge, kind of like a Western Korean revenge movie, but it's set like billions of years in the future after the Earth has just died of natural causes.
Yeah, there was no great apocalypse.
Yeah.
There was no. We just kind of like time ran out.
All turn into dust, and so the sun is now looming on the horizon. It's just about to completely envelop the Earth, and it's just a dusty, hot wasteland, right? And so there are a few last survivors. Our protagonist is an immortal android who is just now, he's been in prison since like our near future, and he just now got out, and he treks down the last road in humanity with his also immortal dog, because they're androids, right? And he's in search of his creator, who's called the Father, because he wants to get revenge on him for giving him human emotions and eternal life, and also wants him to shut him off before the sun just envelops everything, and he's just a hard drive floating through space forever, right? So along the way, he's chasing after someone who's trying to get to the Father first, and he's being chased by someone who wants to tear him limb from limb. And he finds all of the last humans along the road, one by one, finds all the last humans who are now cyborgs who can die who can be killed but can't just die, right? So there's only a few left. And he compassionately euthanizes them so that they don't suffer an even worse death at the hands of this like gigantic looming sun, right? So killing all the humans on a direct path to the Father, right? And it's kind of this strange mythic tall tale. It's got a lot of dust on it, and it's kind of this interesting play on, a lot of the time the stakes are like, is your main character going to live or die? The stake in this one is your character going to die on time? So it's kind of an interesting little play on it. And it's pretty wild, but actually, should be obviously a lot of fun to watch.
No, that sounds awesome. I was really looking forward to Strata, but that one just I think took #1 for me. So that sounds
sweet.
That's like 3 of my favorite things. Sci-fi, Western revenge is like 3 of the best things right there ever.
That's awesome.
All right, so Resolution was one of my favorite horror films of the year. Did you guys, aside from like Kill List and Cabin in the Woods, were there any other horror films that you really loved from this last year?
Yeah. Citadel and American Mary.
Yeah,
Those were really, really awesome.
Those top out our list big time. Those were great.
Insensible.
Oh yeah.
Painless.
Painless. Insensitive. Yeah, that was really good. Game of Werewolves was a lot of fun.
It's a lot of fun.
Let's see here. What else do we have? Oh, Grabbers is rad. Everybody likes Grabbers, and because it's awesome.
Just to end on a really corny question, did you guys make a resolution for 2013? I said it was corny.
To see resolution on VOD January 23rd. No, I mean, I think like it's hard to make resolutions on stuff like this because it's not something you can affect except to work as hard as you can. Make another movie, another feature is definitely on the to-do list for 2013. That's like 100% going to happen no matter what. We wouldn't be able to pay our rent if we don't. So we will do that.
Yeah, the full-time job has become, business on the next movie.
Yeah.
But other than that, I didn't even have a resolution this year.
Really? I do. But I told you about my lame little my annual review thing. You know about that? Okay. Well, I guess I'll tell you.
You're making this up right now.
This is true. No, this is true. Every year, I do resolutions, but in a different format. I call it an annual review, which is kind of a nerdy business term. But basically, what it is it's a big long spreadsheet, and it takes me about 3 days to do, where I write down everything that went right this year, everything that went wrong this year, and then divide it into different segments of my life, different goals for each. So there's, what you would call like 15 or 20 or 30 or 40 different resolutions of things to do, and then about every 3 months I check in and see how I'm doing.
The people come here to look for aliens, ghosts and cults and gateways to hell.
Tweet at us.
Tweet at us.
Please. Not just you, but anyone. But please you as well. At Aaron Moorhead is mine.
At Justin H. Benson.
And I should probably wrap it up by saying resolution, video demand, January 23rd. And I guess select theaters, like at least it's playing in LA on the 25th.
Yes.
Do you know if it's playing? Is it playing anywhere else? Do you have any idea?
It's gonna have a slow rollout.
Yeah.
Okay.
It'll be Los Angeles and
Columbus,
Ohio on the 25th. And then throughout the year, it'll slowly roll out to, we'll probably do something in Austin. We'll probably do something in Toronto. We'll probably do something in San Diego, Tampa. But it'll just be like a slow roll. They're trying
We'd love to hit
very
New York, too. New York would be great if we can.
New York again.
I really think we can. I really do. So we'll see. But yeah, that's our scoop.
All right, well, I'll let you guys go. Thank you so much for letting me do this.
All right,
Thank you for your
high
time.
five. High five.